Okay.
Yeah. All right, with that, good evening, everyone. I call the City Council meeting for Wednesday, July 28th to order. Lots of things going on, so a moment of silence for whatever you're concerned about. Thank you. Alderwoman Dickman, if you'd be kind enough to lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Alderwoman Dickman, and City Clerk Brian Krupp, if you'd call the roll, please.
Dunn.
Here.
Dorman. Here. McGinnis.
Here.
Lee. Here. Grip.
Here.
Condon.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Dickman.
Here.
Jobson.
Here.
And Ambrose.
Here.
10 present, Your Honor.
Thank you, Brian, and good evening, everyone, and to my two colleagues on the phone, hello. As we begin the meeting of the City Council, I'd again like to welcome everybody in attendance here and anybody who's viewing on any particular mobile or computer device. We respectfully welcome your comments and opinions, but please keep in mind as you share your thoughts, you're sharing them with Davenporters, anybody out around the area. We're happy you're participating in your city government and ask that your participation please reflect the common desire we all share to make Davenport a better place for everyone. Especially for the folks in here, just a reminder, if you have your phone, if you do me a favor and look that it's on silent or turned off, just simply so it doesn't get in the way if somebody's talking in here. If you want to address the council on any specific item, there's the podium. Microphone's above you. Please come up. We'd ask you to state your name, address, or ward. If you're not from here, we'd love to know where you're from. 5 minutes. And when you're addressing, please address us as a body and not to any one individual. We'll be respectful of you. Please be respectful of us. Thank you. Will an alderman please move approval of the City Council meeting minutes for July 14th?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Is there any city administrator? Ms. Spiegel.
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next item, will an alderman please move approval of the report of the Committee of the Whole for July 21st? Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There we go. Roger that. Thank you. We have two proclamations this evening. One is Northwest Davenport Turner Society Day and Bix Beiderbecke 50th Jazz Festival. So the first one, Northwest Davenport Turner Society. Alderman Grip, please.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor. The proclamation reads, whereas the Northwest Davenport Turner Society is a member of the American Turners, a federation of Turner societies in the United States, which was founded in 1848. Whereas the Northwest Davenport Turner Society is celebrating the 150th anniversary of its founding on August 5th, 2021. Whereas the society is organized to promote health, physical, and cultural education and rational thinking in order to advance the health, happiness, and progress of mankind. Whereas the Northwest Davenport Turner Society recognizes the family group upon which the greatness of our country has been built and the harmonious education of the body and mind as the most important factors to preserve and perfect this democracy. Whereas the Northwest Davenport Turner Society endeavors to accomplish their purposes and promote their ideals through planned programs for health and physical education for the development of a sound body, cultural education for the development of a sound mind, recreational and social programs, and by participating in worthy civic projects. Now, therefore, we, Mike Mattson, Mayor, and the City Council of Davenport do hereby proclaim August 5th, 2021 as Northwest Davenport Turner Society Day in Davenport, Iowa, and honor and recognize Northwest Davenport Turner Society's contributions to our community on its 150th anniversary, dated this 28th day of July, 2021. I move the proclamation. There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Aye.
All right, accepting, we have Marcia Gray Lossing, Corey Darnell, and Liz Eichner. I'll meet you out front. So in the fifth paragraph, it mentions participating in worthy civic projects. And I know that you both do that, supporting our community, and we appreciate everything you do for us and helping to make Davenport a great place to live. So I'll present this to you. We'll take a picture, and then you guys can, if you would like to say something to the council, you can. Good. Feel free to say something. You good?
So thank you. All right, very good. Thank you, Alderman Grip. The next one is Bix Beiderbecke's 50th Jazz Festival Week. And I think Alderman Dorman, you have that one. Alderman Dorman, please.
Thank you, Mayor Mattson. I am proud to read this proclamation as Bix Beiderbecke is the pride of the 5th Ward. The proclamation reads, whereas Bix Beiderbecke was born March 10th, 1903 at 1934 Grand Avenue in Davenport, Iowa. And whereas in 1928, Bix played In a Mist, his most famous piano composition, in Carnegie Hall, and one of his favorite compositions, Davenport Blues, was named after his hometown. And whereas in 1971, the Bix Beiderbecke Memorial Society was founded, and whereas throughout the years, several books, stage performances, movies, and TV shows have been devoted to remembering Bix's musical genius. And whereas the Putnam Museum and the River Music Experience in Davenport, Iowa, and the Louisiana State Museum Jazz Collection in New Orleans, Louisiana, have several areas devoted to audio-visual exhibits of Bix's music, musical instruments, photographs, and biographical information. And whereas the 2021 Bix Beiderbecke Jazz Festival is celebrating its 50th year in Davenport, Iowa, and is one of 2 national festivals dedicated to the preservation of his musical legacy. Now, therefore, we, Mayor Mike Mattson, Mayor, and the City Council do hereby proclaim August 5th through 7th, 2021 as Bix Beiderbecke 50th Jazz Festival Week in Davenport, and invite all citizens to participate in festivities surrounding the Bix Beiderbecke Jazz Festival to honor and celebrate his legacy. Dated this 20th day of July, 2021. I moved a proclamation. Second. There is a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And from the Bix Society, we have Steve Trainer in order to accept the proclamation. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Sit down anytime. You're out of frame.
Yeah, and when I saw you on Paul Sims Live when I was partying in the park, I know you had a full jazz band, and we should have asked you to bring one of those to council too, but feel free to say any words you like as well.
Thank you very much. Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, just real quick, thank the council for this and the mayor in particular. In 1972, the second festival, I think in 73 and 74, for those who don't remember or weren't around, there were rainouts, and the board of directors, they say now, had they known all the troubles they'd see, they probably wouldn't have put it together. They said they weren't smart enough then, and fortunately they were stubborn enough and had enough willpower that they essentially took out second mortgages to pay the vendors, to pay the bands, and to keep it going. So it's to them that, holy cow, 50th. I can tell you that we're one of the top 3 oldest festivals in the state of Iowa. I think we're probably the longest running festival in the Quad City region. And real quick, 3 more things. For the first time ever, we're going to stream this festival throughout the world and bring more attention to Davenport, Iowa.
We are also going to offer a highlight video that people can order through the month of August through our website, bigsociety.org. And they can call us or email us, and we'll put them on the list. And finally, separate from the society and the festival, I want you all to know that there is a committee that is being formed, small though it be, to purchase the Bix home on Grand Avenue. It needs to be renovated a little bit. And so there is that objective down the road. And we look for not only your guidance in that regard, but maybe some help. We've got some ideas, and we will share them through the proper channels when that time comes. But it is a Nationally Historic Registered home, and we think it can be a tourist attraction and add more to the value of Davenport. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Trainer. Okay, that we carry to the next item, petitions, communications. I just have a quick update. We had a meeting Monday out at Crestwood, and people are following that. So just some quick updates for it. There's a new property manager underway that's already taken over. There's a ground crew that's already been out there working hard, trash, litter, et cetera, grass trimming, bushes, et cetera. Most of the townhomes are done. The apartments will be done this week. The leaking thing in the laundry room's already been done and taken care of. Again, new area manager, walking through all the units, smoke detectors, all that's been taken care of. They're working on the bid for the roofs and bid for the asphalt and the other blacktop. That should be done by the end of this week. So just wanted people to know that we're after this, and we're doing other things as I've updated before with Salvation Army and the 3 months rental assistance and security deposits and case management and all that stuff for both places. So let's see, I see a bunch, so no particular order. Alderwoman Lee.
Honor Society. And the good that they do, I must have been living under a rock. Are there other regional, that was the Northwest. Are there other Turner societies in Davenport? They just left, or I would have.
It's a good German heritage.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's great. Second, I was really proud of myself because I trotted up Brady Street Hill during the Quick Bix. I made it all the way to the overpass, and then we looked in the newspaper and saw that Alderman Grip had done the whole thing in twice my time. So there you go. Yeah, it was twice. Yeah, you were twice as fast. And I was like, all righty then. Okay. And third, you see I'm wearing a mask again, according to CDC guidelines. The Delta variant is here. It's here to stay. There's at least a Lambda variant that may be coming, but the Delta has 1,000 times more viruses in our system than the original. And that means it's muchly more infectious. And even if you've been vaccinated and you're asymptomatic or have low symptoms, we can still spread it. And I've been vaccinated. We can still spread it to others. And it's very rare, but we can get it if you've been vaccinated. So I'm just asking that we protect ourselves and that we protect others and follow the CDC guidance. And a little thing that Dr. Katz said, and this is before the CDC guidance came out, I believe people should still be masking and distancing indoors in populations of mixed and unknown vaccination status, which I tell you is everywhere. I was just on business travel, and I was told that everybody in the room was vaccinated, and I was wearing my mask for a medical reason, and got in a truck with somebody, and I started to do this and said, I'm fully vaccinated. He says, I'm not. And he sat there while they said everyone was vaccinated. So it said, he said, I would recognize that vaccines are not perfect even when fully vaccinated. And that's true. I mean, it's like 95 or 98% against the Delta. The infection and transmission to vulnerable contacts can still occur. So I'm going back to wearing my mask when I'm indoors. And I encourage you to take care of yourselves and take care of others. Thank you. And that's my list.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. Alderwoman Dickman.
Thank you, Your Honor. The street traffic calming program that is being tried out has generated a lot of interest. So August 17th, I'm going to have a ward meeting to give citizens a chance to ask questions about that and hear a little presentation. So August 17th at Fairmount Library, 6 p.m. Please join me if you are interested in learning more about the pilot program that we're doing for traffic calming. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Dickman. Alderman Miller.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to send my gratitude to the membership of 3 groups I recently was in league with. On Saturday, we had the Ward 7 meeting, which was, to my surprise, my delight, in fact, very, very well attended and very active. Perhaps in spite of, and perhaps because of, the Big 7 that was going on at the same time. So, we were very, very happy to get that insight. On Monday, I went to a meeting at Crestwood Apartments where we basically heard grievances from the residents about their current condition. And on yesterday, I went to the apartments at 35th Street and we just prayed about their situation. In all 3 of these meetings, one dominant theme that came up was what I could define as the Latin phrase cui bono, who benefits. Whenever you think about the actions that people take, perhaps a group such as City Council or other groups that lead anything, think about what they do in comparison to who actually receives the benefit for what they do. And I think about that a lot lately, about some of the things that we are doing now and what we are planning to do and some of the exciting things we have going on. We have to always keep that in mind. And that's something that I've learned over the last week since I've last met with you folks. Who benefits? Just keep in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Miller. Alderman Grip.
Thank you, Your Honor. So New York City's the city that never sleeps, but in reality, all cities never sleep. They operate 24/7 days a week, 365 days a year, and I wanted to recognize our staff because they literally answer the phone and answer the call every day, every hour. And this weekend I had a couple of issues that needed to be addressed at very strange times and needed to be done quickly. And they pick up the phone and they get to work and they make things happen, and it is really appreciated. So starting with City Administrator Corey and Rich Oswald, Fire Marshal Morris and Trishna, and then Brian as well. I just want to thank you guys for being responsive. Alderman Ambrose talks a lot about being a can-do city, a city that works with its residents and business owners and property owners to come to resolution, and I see it every day. I saw it quite a bit this weekend, so thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Grip. Alderwoman McGinnis.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm sorry I can't be with you tonight, but I will see you all next week. I'm out of town for the rest of the week, but I'll be looking at messages and doing work as I'm out. I did want to mention, and I will not be able to come this week, to Party in the Park at Glen Armel Park. Cokie Powers will be there. She'll have our history boards. There'll be food. There'll be music. There'll be fun for the kids. Glen Armel is a great neighborhood. And Nancy Nolan, who heads up that neighborhood association, has said she will be there as well to talk about the neighborhood. It's a wonderful, sweet little park that probably a lot of people don't go to, but it's there, and certainly we welcome everyone. So this is on this Thursday, and it's 5:30 to 7:30 as always. So if you can join us at Glen Armel Park, please do. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman McGinnis. I'll say that's the pickup basketball capital of the world back in my day, so PD, be ready, because now you're on my home turf, so we'll see. All right, anyone else? Very good. Okay, we'll move on to discussion. We have one discussion item. So I'll read that. Resolution accepting and approving the city administrator's recommended American Rescue Plan Act budget, commonly known as Arpa, including funding allocations for related resiliency projects and authorizing the city administrator and chief financial officer to perform the necessary budget and personnel amendments. first. Is there any public with comment? If there is, again, please step to the podium. Give your name and ward. If you're not from here, we'd love to know where you're from, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Mayor, Council, thanks for the opportunity. Bill Handel, Nashville, Tennessee, also Ward 4 in Davenport. And I talked about this last week. This is about the children's playground at the foot of Main Street. Actually, it's about a block to the upstream of Main Street. And I feel that location for another children's playground is inappropriate and ill-advised, and we can do a whole lot better for our city locating that playground somewhere else. We already have a very active and beautiful children's playground area in Centennial Park. As I've said in other meetings, I think it's Spray Park could be better. I've seen much better spray parks in Chattanooga. I'd be happy to share, and I think I will share those with everybody. No harm in stealing a successful design and importing it to our great city. However, to think that what we're talking about is a destination playground in this location, I think is we need to give it a bit more thought. A destination to me is something very large and attractive. The Lost Island water park, and next year Lost Island amusement park in Waterloo represent a total investment of $160 million, and they'll have in excess of 250,000 people enjoying that space. That is a destination. But however, $6 million in what's such a small area, I paced it off, 200 feet by 300 feet. That's 1.5 acres. That's only 2/3 of the size of just our spray park. And to say that that is going to be a standalone facility on the order of Maggie Daley Park in Chicago is I think, a mistake. I haven't been to Maggie Daley Park, but as an architect, just like a musician that hasn't seen a song, they look at the sheet music and they know what's going on. So I went down to the library and printed off Maggie Daley Park. It's either a 25 or a 20-acre park. The outline of this yellow area here is that park, and kind of get an idea of the items in here. The area that we're talking about is this solid area in the left lower corner of it, and we're saying that is going to be a destination for everyone in the Midwest. Clearly, that's not going to happen. Let's not worry about getting people from outside of Davenport. Let's have that kind of a thing happen in our existing beautiful park. Let's get our Parks Department people to come up with something. I understand they hadn't had any input on this thing at all. And the same thing with the other 4 parks. So I think we need to get something from the Parks Department. We've got one of the best Parks Department in the country. We've got a lot of career people with a lot of experience. Let's get their ideas, and then we'll work on that and come up with something that will be truly something that will make Davenport a better place to live. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, I'm Kelly Cruz. I'm from Rock Island's First Ward. And yeah, I would just like to urge that people, reconsider some of these items and do this a little bit more thoroughly, because, a park, I mean, it's good, but it's not really, it's only just very tangentially related to COVID. And at the same time, we have all these really pressing crises crashing down on us that we need to do stuff about. And, it just is, and it doesn't, I get it because I work for the Defense Department that, it doesn't seem like $6 million is a lot of money, but when the average person hears $6 million for a park when they are, in a lot of trouble, that is gonna, make a lot of people angry, and I don't blame them. And I agree with everybody that has said that just, it's not going to be a destination. That's kind of like some kind of weird fantasy that I don't understand. And I'm glad that the sewer is being done. I am. Don't get me wrong, but that's something that should have been, you know, that's something that's in your sort of like depreciation account as soon as you put it in, that you're gonna have to repair it or replace it within a certain amount of time, and we shouldn't have to wait around for the federal government to shower us with money for that to happen. That should have already been in the plan and been started working on already. So that's, you know, good, you know, to do that, but it really should have been done already. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up is also just sort of like not so much process thing, but more of a kind of like a social thing, I guess, or I'm not really thinking of the right word, but you know, I was here last week. I had something else going on, so I didn't get to stay for the end of the meeting, but when people were talking about this and kind of having their own little debate or whatever, which is, you know, you've got to do that in a healthy democracy. I feel like, you know, what was going on with the people that were sitting, you know, behind me now kind of got lost. That, you know, when you have people talking about how great and wonderful this park is and everything like that, when they are in danger of losing their homes and stressed out and you know, being discriminated against and not knowing who to go to. I understand that some measures have been taken to try to help these folks out, but I would be embarrassed. I really would, if I was sitting there, you know, laughing and joking and talking about this, you know, park and how many people are going to come in here to see it and da-da-da-da-da. And meanwhile, these people are waiting this whole time that are, you know, struggling with much more difficult situations than, oh, well, you know, what weird vanity project should we throw this money at, I guess. So just kind of like a reality check / self-awareness thing, I think, is, that I was standing in the back waiting because I was like, I got to go in a few minutes, and they're still talking about this. And yeah, it just really, it made me mad, and I'm not even in that situation, so.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Dennis Platt. I'm in the 6th Ward. I live about 4/10 of a mile away from Crestwood, and I know this isn't about Crestwood, but it is. It appears that, you know, in your spending plan for this federal money, there's a very healthy allocation for home ownership, and I'm in favor of that. I think that's a very smart and strong move for a city, but everyone's not ever going to own a home. Some people, in fact, are trying to sell their home. They're elderly and they don't want to take care of it. There's other people who don't want the responsibility of caring for a home. There's other people that are just too busy. They travel. They can't take care of a home. There's a lot of people that are going to rent, and there's a full spectrum of incomes that they survive on. And in this market, a great deal has been done to build up the inventory of rental properties, the top half. And there's really nothing going on at all, nothing for the bottom half. For people who maybe can only spend $500 or $600 or $800 a month on rent, that's all they can spend. That's all they can spend. There's nothing being built for them. There's been all kinds of studies done the last 5 years, providing you with data about what to look for in the future. And every one of them says you're short affordable housing for these people. And we are really at the brink right now, where if we have one more 100-unit rental complex go down for remodeling into upscale apartments or condos, these people have nowhere to go. We are at We're at the floor right now. We don't even know if everyone next week is going to have a place to live. So with the funds that you're allocating from the federal government, I really think you need to think about what Alderman Miller spoke about. Who benefits? When 70% of white people who live in Davenport own a home, when 80% of black people who live in Davenport who rent, who benefits the way this is allocated? The impact is pretty stark. I think you need to reconsider. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, can everyone hear me? Great. My name is Andrew DeFries. I am a former resident of Davenport. I lived in Davenport for several years until last year. I moved to Rock Island for a variety of reasons. One of them was the rent was too high. So I want to talk a little bit about this spending plan. I too have some concerns about how things are allocated. When I think of the American Recovery Act, I think of recovery. So rebuilding, revitalizing, trying to claw back what has been lost due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the economic disaster that has resulted from it, as well as strengthening the city to be better in the future, to be more resilient. So when I look at the funding plans, you know, I see all these things for parks and libraries, and that's all good and all. I'm all for that, you know. But then when you get to the issue of housing, that's what I am completely disappointed in. In fact, more than disappointed, it's just, I think it's completely tone deaf. So when I look at all the provisions made for housing, it is, as was just mentioned prior, entirely all for existing homeowners or people wanting to buy a home, right? So it's, you know, credits for, you know, refurbishment, for renovation. It's different credits for people who own vacant lots to redevelop that property. And so the only people I think that would apply to would be current homeowners as well as landlords, right? So more housing units that are built for, you know, middle to upper middle class people and then some. And I think the amount that's allocated in particular for what's known as transitional housing, $600,000, I think is a slap in the face to the people who are right now experiencing extreme, well, it's frankly an emergency when it comes to people who are facing eviction. And homeless people right now, okay? We have a huge homelessness problem in the Quad Cities. It was here way before COVID. It's gotten worse because of COVID, and it's gonna get worse. On August 1st, the federal eviction moratorium is gone, right? That's it. So people have been behind on rent for so long, they have nowhere to go. They're gonna be evicted unless something is done at the local or state level to fix this, okay? I read a really interesting article today that was published actually just today by the New York Times. And it was a little graph where you can basically see, you know, who is behind on rent in a particular county. So I looked this up, and I don't know how they got their data. It's probably, you know, self-reported. And I saw that out of all renters in Scott County, Iowa, 14.4% are behind on rent, okay? And out of that, the people who are behind on rent, they are behind by an average of $3,277. I mean, no one has the money for that. I don't, most people don't. Here you go, here's over $3,000. I mean, that's ridiculous. So what is being done to help them, right? And this is for Scott County. I'm sure if you take into account two things. One, Davenport's probably higher. It's a more densely populated area. It's the biggest city in Scott County, right? So it's probably higher because of that reason, maybe 20, 25%. And then it's the fact that this is self-reported data. It's probably much higher than what's been collected. So we are talking about maybe 15 to 25%, if not more, people who might be facing eviction on Sunday, basically. I mean, this is an emergency. And I haven't seen anything in this plan or from the city in general about how to fix this, because this is a homeless emergency, right? Eviction is an inherently violent act when you think about it, okay? Every human, every mammal needs shelter. If we don't have shelter, we can't do anything else, right? So let's think about it, like, not just in a purely biological perspective, but let's look at society as a whole, right? If you want a job, right? Well, you need an address so that they can send you paperwork and all that stuff. You want to open a bank account so you can get paid. Well, you need an address for that too. And you need an ID card for that as well. So that also needs an address. So because these people are losing their homes, we're going to have mass homelessness far beyond what we've probably ever seen in Davenport, at least in the last 100 years. And this plan does not address that at all, and I completely reject this due to that reason alone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
Alicia Espy, I'm the Director of Programs for the Downtown Partnership in the Quad Cities Chamber. First, I want to commend you all, city staff and council, on the process to develop these priorities. I know a lot of difficult decisions were made. We can't solve all of our problems with this funding, but I felt like you made a comprehensive list that addresses issues that are happening now and planning for the future. I was in attendance last week when Main Street Landing was singled out as a project, and there's healthy discussion happening last week and today around that. As we worked through our downtown master plan process, this project remained high on the list of catalytic projects. We explored many options. Main Street Landing remained the preferred site, and its development is crucial to advancing our long-term vision. When we talk about being a welcoming and inclusive downtown, creating an attraction that's accessible to downtown residents, Quad citizens, visitors, this is a project that achieves that. This investment is a great opportunity to create something that's special, and it's freely accessible for everyone that calls Davenport home. In our conversations throughout the years with developers, this is a project that has energized people. They've shown strong interest in investing more dollars in infrastructure in the immediate vicinity that ties directly to the usability of Main Street Landing. So if this component gets removed, it's a piece of the puzzle that's hard to be replicated. As it relates to workforce attraction and retention, the goals of the Quad Cities Chamber, we all know that creating a regional destination like this project are real game changers for our communities. And we've seen that time and time again. Many of you shared great comments to this point last week. Please don't let us miss this tremendous opportunity to draw more young people to downtown, to show them that we are invested in creating spaces and building a future home and that they can be proud of. And then the last thing I want to do is just talk to you as an everyday average Quad citizen. I grew up in a rural area north of here, and any trip I made to Davenport was to North Park Mall. My parents never brought me downtown because there was really no reason to. And so as a result, I never believed that there was anything here for me. So when I came downtown for the first time, it was to take senior photos in '06. And I stood in front of the Figgy and underneath the flower baskets, and the beauty of the city left an impression on me. And so I came back that summer, went to Street Fest, walked into River Music Experience, and that was the first moment that I felt like this was a place for me. I've naturally been gravitated towards the Sky Bridge, the fountain, River Music Experience. We have great amenities. So I am just one of many stories that can prove the impact in investing in placemaking. And by investing in our riverfront and projects like Main Street Landing, you are creating more opportunities for those light bulb moments for young people to say, hey, I can make it here in Davenport too. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Very good. Okay. Will an alderman please? Second. There's a motion and a second. Now any discussion from alder folks Alderwoman Alderwoman Dickman.
Thank you, Your Honor. I see that we have a lot of individuals and community members here that are passionate about helping those that are less fortunate, and I think that that's wonderful that people really need advocates, and I really hope that that those individuals and the communities that they're part of will continue their advocacy to the county that has the tax authority and the mandate to address health and human services, which does also include affordable housing. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Dickman. Alderman Ambrose.
Thank you, Your Honor. As I went through the Fourth Ward on my listening tour, presenting these programs, these options to the good people of Davenport's great Fourth Ward, I was not surprised at what their reactions were. You know, we have some great economic development projects that we must move forward on. But everyone said two things. They said, we need more police, and we got to fix the streets and the alleys and be more customer service to the good people of Davenport. So $6 million on the riverfront, all that did was make them angry. And I wasn't surprised. It may be an election year. You know, some people might want to devote a little time on their way to the fair next week, where we're going to have over 300,000 people visiting Davenport's great Fourth Ward, to take a little time, you know, especially the great at-large aldermen, stop by some of the businesses and ask them how things are going. Thanks.
Thank you, Alderman Ambrose. Alderman Condon.
Ms. Berkeley, would you help me with that image, please? Brian, thank you. So there's been some discussion about this riverfront investment and who it is really serving. And what is on the screen there is census tracts and showing how dense they are in each area. And you can see our central city has more individuals per square mile than the majority of the rest of our city. And in particular, the downtown area, just note that that is diluted a little bit because our city doesn't run into the river typically. And that also includes all of our great riverfront park that we've so smartly divested in and made way for these riverfront attractions and gotten our more significant infrastructure out of there. So is this a neighborhood? We've identified that we want to invest in neighborhood parks as part of our ARPA dollars to make sure that people have safe, healthy outdoor spaces to gather in their community. Yes, this is very much a neighborhood. It's one of our more dense neighborhoods. Now, in this calendar year, there's going to be an additional 100 units being built, I believe, on the YMCA property. They just pulled their permit. There's going to be 50 plus additional apartments at the 400 River building. And I don't know the exact number on Urbane 210, but I think it's in the neighborhood of another 50 units. So that's 200 to 400 more souls that are going to lay their head down on their pillow right here in our central city. And so it may be one of the fastest growing areas of our city. If we had a 200 lot subdivision that was all built out within one calendar year, we would all be amazed. But that's happening right here in this neighborhood. This area also has the greatest concentration of low-income housing available in our community. So who lives in these areas? There's a lot of people who are going to be served by this park who live in these areas, and because of the density and because of the affordable nature of where they live, don't have a big yard or any yard at all. So there's another area where it serves our people. Who else lives in this area? Millennials and young professionals and I'm getting old enough to feel bitter that millennials get so much attention. I understand I'm a geriatric millennial, but we need young people to be excited about our community. I live in downtown Davenport because River Vision came out when I was in college, and I was excited about that, and that kept me in Davenport. So why would a young professional pay in excess of $1,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment? It's because of the river and the investments that we're making on the river and the opportunity to engage with it every day. That also makes this one of the most socioeconomic diverse areas in our city. This isn't happening anywhere else in our city. Where are people who have disposable income, who could afford to live virtually wherever they would like within the Quad Cities, choosing to live alongside people who may be living in poverty? It's right here in our downtown, which will be serviced by this park. Any item on our Arpa list singled out against poverty in America is going to look pretty trivial quickly as you try to justify the spending. But you really can't have one without the other. You need to invest in your central city. The sustainable future of our city is in the central city, in the reinvestment of our central city, not on its edges. Cities like Cincinnati and Detroit, which are turning around but not done yet, they have invested a tremendous amount of money in their downtown and riverfronts, some of those in floodplains. And these are not towns that have defeated social injustice. These are not towns that have filled every pothole in their city. These are blue-collar towns that recognize that you have to both invest in helping those who need a little more assistance in affordable housing, but also make sure that you're looking out for the long-term future of the city and what's going to maintain your population and your workforce. So for that reason, I strongly throw my voice behind the investment in our Main Street landing.
Thank you, Alderman Condon. Anyone else? Okay, Alderwoman Lee.
One of the things that's interesting about the 6 million, there's a couple of things. One is the playground didn't make the original set of priorities when we first got that information. It got carved out of the north-south bike path at a management update meeting for 6 million. And I'm not saying that 10 million should have been focused on a north-south bike path, but that's where the 6 million came from for a project that didn't make the top priority when the city council originally ranked the projects that were considered and provided by city staff. So I got curious, and I went back through the 3 budgets that have been available since I came on council. And again, it was only a year and a half, so that was the 2021 and 22 budgets. And 20 and 21, there was $6 million in the budget for current and out years. However, it wasn't for this one lot. It was for the entire Main Street landing area, from Harrison over to Perry. In 22, the RF 002 for Main Street landing was reduced to 3 million through 2027 every other year. So it went from 6 million to 3 million. And we recognized that, and that again was for the entire Main Street landing area, all the lots. So it got cut in half actually for 2022. And of course the riverfront flood resiliency implementation of the findings of that was also in the 2022 budget, where it should be. And we're waiting for the HR Green study. And I've said from the very beginning, based on my experience with riverfront planning in other places, and as well as my contributions here, from the very beginning, I said we need to do things in order. And we did have some money for implementation, but we don't have the findings yet. And I do understand that you want to have money programmed, so when HR Green comes in, we can start implementing. And we are using some of these funds for implementing flood mitigation, which is absolutely critical. And development of our riverfront is absolutely critical. But I think this $6 million, which was originally spread out over the entire Main Street Landing area from Harrison to Perry, and is now being focused on a playground, that originally had a different approach to planning for that, and we don't really have plans. I think we really need to reconsider that $6 million at this point, waiting for the HR Green study to come out and see how we can best spend our money throughout the riverfront and throughout Main Street Landing. The other thing I want to say about it is we do not necessarily have to consider the playground in this location. We have $3 to $4 million worth of wonderful, unique playthings that we would have access to over by the ball field behind the band shell. And there's I went and looked at it, there's quite a bit of room over there, plus a lot of it is already flood protected. And I've, of course, also said, we're not using the Ferris wheel we own. So there are other places where we could have a playground, where we could leverage what we already have. We could leverage the parking. We could leverage all the things that are going on over at the Freight House area, the ballpark, the Figgy, the Centennial Park, the Spray Park. There's rugby over there, the skate park. So I'm saying that there are other options that may cost a whole lot less, that would then leave some more money for the lots at Main Street Landing, or for other uses as determined by the City Council. So I think at this time it might be smart to pull this out and consider it more deeply before we jump in. The other thing that I have said from the beginning, I understand that we'd have to put 15 feet of fill into that lot, which would of course block off Quinlan Court from the river. You wouldn't be able to see it. And that's also a lot of fill that would create a de facto berm and move the water in ways that we probably don't know where it would go. Water is zero sum. It doesn't just go away. It goes somewhere else. So that's another concern I have with that lot, and flood resiliency as well as flood mitigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. Alderman Grip.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I could just speak to a few of those points. So to start off, I did chair the Destination Playground Task Force. And so, Alderwoman Lee, you flipped that around. So we had $3.5 million set aside for the Destination Playground specific to the area for the playground, not going all the way to Perry. And now with this, you have from Brady to Perry with more than the playground. So it does say Main Street Landing, Adventure Play, and Event Lawn. So you're looking at a bigger area, which is why the budget has increased. So it's actually flipped. The other thing was, the nice thing about having gone through riverfront and downtown master planning since I was in college is that I've been at every one since I was 19 years old. And we asked the Downtown Partnership last year, we said if HR Green came back and said that we couldn't do anything on the riverfront, where would be a great place to put the Destination Playground? And they came back and said, first off, Main Street Landing is the place that it should be. That is the biggest economic development driver that you could have. And But here's a few other options that are less appealing. We've also looked into the land behind the ballpark. Several years ago, there was a proposal before the Riverfront Improvement Commission to put a miniature golf course there. And before it got to the Riverfront Improvement Commission, it was withdrawn because there's infrastructure under there that is problematic to get to if you were to put an asset on top of it. The second reason why we were opposed to that or why it was withdrawn is because it blocks potential expansion of the LeClaire bandshell, which currently isn't suited for national acts. So if we ever want to expand that bandshell for national acts, we probably need to do some expansion on the back end of it, which would push the bike path, which means we might need that land for future expansion there. So that has been looked into. And the other thing is that we did ask HR Green to, if what they've done so far, is this compatible with what you guys are seeing? And their answer has been yes. Anything south of the railroad tracks is good as far as doing the plans that we have. So we have addressed those things. And to get back to Alderman Condon's point, I believe this strongly. I believe in this philosophy of development, okay? It is the Strong Towns philosophy of you have a public amenity, you invest in the businesses next to it, you invest in the neighborhoods, and that is how you get strength. I wanted to point out on that picture, and you don't have to bring it up, but first off, those two census tracts are two of the poorest census tracts in our city. Secondly, they're two of the most financially productive census tracts in our city. They're gridded, and if you go around the neighborhood, the heritage neighborhoods, they're grids, they're high density. They pay for the infrastructure that they use, which is not common in a city, okay? This is exactly where we should be investing. And so when I look at Davenport and I think about how do you anchor the city of Davenport for decades and decades to come, you invest in the riverfront, you invest in the downtown, you invest in the heritage neighborhoods, and those financially productive portions of your town will make you financially strong. So, Alderman Condon, I really appreciate you finding that and bringing that to our attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Grip. Okay, someone hasn't spoke, Alderman Dorman.
Thank you, Mayor Manson. When I think about this, I talked last week about my sense that being a, I guess, true millennial, according to Alderman Condon's terms, and when I think about my generation and what we're doing right now in cities that people currently live in and where COVID has shaken things up to where people now see different values of what they want in life and where they want to live. They realize that their jobs could most likely be done remote, and they no longer need to stay in the large cities that they've previously flocked to, where they pay extremely high living costs, and it's for the benefit of having amenities by you. And so when I then think about Davenport, we have apartments compared to this city of Chicago and other living units that are affordable comparative in that comparison of living downtown Chicago versus downtown Davenport. And we are, thanks to the Downtown Davenport Partnership, we are working towards having the downtown businesses and attractions that people want to be by and they want to live. And that is a recipe for success if we can now find a way to get them here and to show them that we are a place where you can live, work, and still play in the community. And that is something that I know many companies around town are in a extreme war for talent, and it's hard to sometimes attract people to the Midwest when We have negative 40-degree winters, and places like Austin, Texas don't have that. And so how do we find our niche in our way in order to get people to experience our city? Because we all know that once you get to Davenport, it's a great community, and you find it hard to leave because you realize it's such a great spot to raise your family. And so that all being said, looking to the ARPA plan, I really thought about it in kind of a roadmap fashion. So I thought about, what is this current plan doing right now? And number one, or point zero is the first one, the administrative costs. We're making sure that we can make it happen. We have 3 years to spend the money, and we're gonna get the money spent in those 3 years. So after that then, what's the first thing we do with this? Well, we address crime. We've seen over the last year or two an increase in crime nationwide in here. And so we address that via our youth assessment program, both community-based and law enforcement-based, as well as our violence interrupters. We then go back into stabilizing our neighborhood and addressing housing with our neighborhood stabilization program and our vacant and abandoned property program, as well as our regional transitional housing program that we have in there. We then go into protecting our community, this case from the flood threat that we experienced 2 years ago. So there's money in there to address that. We then are developing our own with our Fairmont Library Community Center, our library social worker, our pre-K literacy program, as well as our public Wi-Fi hotspots. So then we are giving back to the MLK Plaza contribution, as well as our neighborhood parks. We're reinvesting in many of those census tracts we saw on there that are some of the lowest ones, as Alderman Grip said, within the city. We then are creating new jobs via our West Locust sewer connection. So we now have new opportunities for future growth where we can land another Amazon or another Fortune 500 company where we can bring true high-paying jobs into our community. And so all of that, we then finally have one last issue or item we want to address. How do we attract people to our city to experience all of those items we are fixing and addressing with this plan? And that's via a destination playground. And Alderman Grip mentioned about it earlier with Strong Towns, and I've recently been listening to the audio book of it, and their thought process of investment spurs investment. And they gave the example of, you saw back in the day, people would build big granite city halls in their downtown. And they did that, and the book tells, because they wanted to entice new investment to come to their downtown. They didn't go and build a small wooden shack that no one wanted to be by. They built a building and they invested in their community that spurred new investment. And when you look at the $6 million, we've talked about how it seems a lot, but that is a return in our community, and the return on the investment we will see from that will pay for itself by tenfold, I would think. And so that all being said, I hope the rest of council and the community kind of understands how this is a pivotal part of the larger plan that we have, and without one, it's hard to have it all. And so I hope that you guys can really see it from that viewpoint and that light. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Dorman. Alderwoman McGinnis.
Thank you for allowing me to speak, Your Honor. I wanted to echo and say my agreement with much of what's been said tonight. I think Alderman Griff, thank you so much for reminding us of the long process that the planning for this area of our riverfront has gone through. I've been through planning cycles since the early 2000s myself, and several iterations of this. And you know, I'd like to point out that the comment was made that the money wasn't in the budget. Well, there was not money in our budget for many things that are in front of us. We might have liked to have had it for, these are all worthy projects, and we would like certainly would have liked to have had it, but this is a really unique opportunity. So I could go through and cherry pick, I guess, all of them and say, well, it wasn't in this, why are we doing it? This wasn't there. You know, the bike test wasn't there. Why are we doing this? But, you know, these are things together as a council we've considered and looked at, and there are certainly things on the list that were not in my top selection. But I overall think taking them as a whole, as Alderman Dorman went through them, it really reaches into many parts of our community. And just to the point about roads, there was no money, and I understand Alderman Ambrose's and his ward's concern about roads and alleys. This was not an allowable expense within this pot of money. It wasn't something we could do. So I think we have to put that aside in looking at this, because we simply can't do roads and alleys, even though I think we all, you know, would like to move forward to that. I mean, we all want to see that happen. And I guess I just finally want to say what I said last week and what others have said very, very well tonight. You know, I've experienced this area of the city, you know, probably longer than anybody. I've lived 6 blocks from downtown for the last 23 years. It is, I've lived in a neighborhood that's one of the poorest in the city and still is. I live in an area of the city that they are undoubtedly the poorest census tract in the city of Davenport. When you look at these areas, you look at cities that we think of like Cincinnati, Detroit, that are heavily disinvested. That's what the demographics look like. They're also the most diverse neighborhood, including downtown and the neighborhoods around them. And there has been tremendous active faith by private investment in our downtown area, people stepping up. Buildings that were sitting vacant are no longer that way. So we have to recognize that as well. But also the diversity of these areas. These truly are going to be a place, Main Street, which again has been singled out for some reason, that everybody can come freely and participate in. And I think that's a very exciting thing to happen for the city. So I want us to think about that and, you know, come and join me in my neighborhood. Come and join me and come join those of us who live in these neighborhoods or try to work on behalf of these neighborhoods every day. You know, be a part of the solution. There's been some conversation, and I understand questions about, well, there's money for housing, but it's for a certain kind of people. None of those decisions about the housing programs, the dollars that are set aside, have been decided. So that's a supposition which we're not there yet. So, you know, yes, we have issues with vacant and abandoned properties. We have issues with needing to continue revitalization of our urban core area, which city policies in the past and business interests in the past just sort of abandoned, and as they moved into the cornfield. This city councils that have come in the last few years have said we're committed to this, and to the people who live in these areas as well. So these are all important programs that are going to be very helpful to this part of our city, and certainly will benefit all of our city. So I think it's a great list, and I certainly support us moving forward. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman McGinnis. Alderman Miller.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have been to Cincinnati many times in my life, but and it's a great town. But as many of you know, Detroit is my hometown. And going back to Detroit, as I mentioned in the 7th Ward meeting this weekend, going back to Detroit now, I mean, getting down by the riverfront, it is exciting. And I've been to Paris, and that's exciting because it's, you know, like if you know the history of Detroit, it's not always been a pleasant place. A lot of parts, it still ain't. But downtown, what they've been able to do in, sitting there at downtown, it's a fantastic development that they've had. The entire city, it seems, just is able to come out and have a great time. And people come from all around the metro area and all around the state. But I would like to send up an illumination round here about the purpose of ARPA so that everyone in the room or folks joining us online is reminded about what the initial intent of that was. Let's see here. The U.S. Treasury Department said that ARPA funding comes from is provided much needed relief to 4 basic areas. The first is to support urgent COVID-19 response efforts to continue to decrease the spread of the virus and bring the pandemic under control. The second, replace lost revenue for eligible state, local, territorial, and tribal governments to strengthen support for vital public services and help retain jobs. The third is to support the immediate economic stabilization for households and businesses. And the last is to address systemic public health and economic challenges that have contributed to the unequal impact of the pandemic. Early on, when we were discussing how we should distribute the ARPA funding, I said one big consideration, matter of fact, the first one I mentioned was that we have to consider the alignment. Now, I'm sure that some of my fellow council members are going to be able to tell me how all of the things that we're spending money on are representative of that alignment to help me out and help everyone in the room out as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Miller. Alderman Jobson, I know you're wanting to say, do you want to wait to the end because I know you're going to make a motion?
Yes, I can wait till the end.
Roger that. I'm going to go back to anybody for second. Okay, I see one, Alderman Ambrose.
Thank you, Hunter. First off, the Recovery Act, in my perspective, is we're recovering from bad decisions made by government, bad decisions that almost sunk our great country. So I look back almost 2 years, what this city has been through, and when I started thinking about it, I can't sleep at night. From the mayor's executive orders telling the people to cower in place, to the businesses boarding up their businesses, the mayor reaching out to the governor to bring in the National Guard. Right now, we have state law enforcement agencies trying to assist our police department. So we got to have our police department staffed, because down the road, the way the courts and the judges are releasing these habitual criminals back into our great city, and there's nothing the city can do, there's nothing the governor can do, because the courts are completely independent. So I realize a lot of these aldermen live out in nice bucolic neighborhoods, and I don't. I live in a neighborhood that we have challenges, and our police department, in my opinion, and along with everybody in the 4th Ward, is under siege because of the crime in this city. So, potential, all these projects have great potential. It wasn't that long ago that we were told when we build the Sky Bridge, we're going to have 1.5 million people a year crossing the Sky Bridge to our great downtown and our riverfront. So, as we know, that hasn't happened. And we had a gambling boat that was supposed to be the anchor to that. It never happened. So one thing we do know, we have some serious crime that continues to grow, and it's not because it's anything the city council and mayor, but we have to be prepared. The only way we can be prepared to protect the great people of the city of Davenport and their homes and their businesses, we have to have a police department that has the manpower to tackle these issues along with traffic enforcement and good customer service. So whatever the federal government and the elected officials in Washington are telling us what this money can be used for, I got great faith in our public and city administrator and her team that if we ever see this money, I just hope our police department is brought up to a force that we don't have to count on the other municipalities, the other governments to bring in agents to make our great city safe. It's not that difficult. You need the manpower, you need police that are present, and the future, by what I see coming down the road from the progressive legislators in Washington, on the city council, and in the state of Iowa, we need a strong, well-staffed police department. We have to reassure the people of Davenport that we're doing everything possible to protect them, their families, and their businesses. So I've shared many opinions through the last budget that our law enforcement agency is under siege and we can't allow it to go. So once again, we have a city election coming up, and I just hope, like the last election, everybody that ran, they said the number one issue was going to be public safety. Well, if I was going to grade this mayor and council on how we addressed public safety over the last 2 years, it wouldn't be very good. Thanks.
Alderman Condon.
Thank you for the second opportunity, Your Honor. Bear with me, I'll try not to get lost, but I think the question is, does this align with the intended use of the ARPA dollars? And I'll take a swing at it. And I am appreciative that this is maybe open to interpretations. The federal government has given us a big purview over what you can spend it on, I presume, because in some wisdom they knew that local officials and community members would know best how they could make lasting impact in their own community. Once again, if you put poverty up against anything on this list, we could be here all night. There's not many things on the list that can hold a candle to that in most people's eyes. But it feels like we've been here before. Every time that the city tries to make an investment in its riverfront, which time and time again has been recognized as both our greatest asset and an area of our highest potential, we doubt ourselves for whatever reason. And so this isn't a flash in the pan idea. This is something that's been responsibly planned and been in line for a long time. And while it doesn't build a structure for affordable housing, in so many ways, as I've articulated before, it serves a neighborhood that is in the center of these affordable neighborhoods. And if we choose to address one need in affordable housing, we have to realize that we're in turn ignoring another. And sometimes I wonder to myself, should we invest in nice things in our city? Because there's no bottom to what we could do to invest into poverty and social justice issues. But what are you left with if you don't invest in nice things? Because, bear with me, I firmly believe that the future of Davenport is in our central city. And when you have people coming to our community that can choose to live anywhere within the community, why would they choose the central city? And it's because of our riverfront and the investment that we're going to make into our parks and the lifestyle that our downtown offers. What does that gain us? Well, it gains us an attractive location for young professionals, and it gains us socioeconomic diversity. We can fund public safety until we're out of money, and as so many people have acknowledged, we're never going to arrest our way out of the problem. And so consider this a long game. By investing in our downtown with our central city, with our riverfront park, you're creating socioeconomic diversity. And when people fall in love with our downtown, they should know that they don't have to leave it. There is affordable housing stock that they can invest in, and rather than paying thousands of bucks a month in rent, they can revitalize our city. Now those young families are sending their kids to school alongside those who have less. I don't know if you hung with me there, but to my mind, that's how we play the long game. We invest in our central city. We allow ourselves to have nice things. We attract people who could live anywhere to decide that downtown Davenport offers a unique, diverse lifestyle that they cannot get elsewhere in the Quad Cities, and they choose to raise a family here. I think that's all.
Thank you, Alderman Condon. Alderman Dunn.
Thank you, Your Honor. You know, I got to agree with Alderman Ambrose. I'd like to hire more police officers. That's true, but that's not what this money is for. There's no stipulation in here of any way we can hire police officers. But what we can do is try to help curb a lot of these issues that our community is facing. And if you go through this list, right? What's important? Neighborhood stabilization. That's important. Vacant and abandoned housing. That's important. Youth assessment center. That's important. Violence interrupters. That's important. Neighborhood parks. That's important. Martin Luther King. All of these projects, right? One of the big ones is the West Side Sewer, right? It's $14 million for a sewer. That doesn't sound too attractive, right? But if you look at the development the potential development that can happen on the west side of Davenport, we've been waiting for years to try to build this sewer. Now, we've done all that work out in the industrial center on the other end of town. The only problem is all that tax base went to other school districts. Our school districts need the help. Imagine what would happen when we invest in this side of town. We bring jobs, we bring people here, and we invest, and that makes a major investment in our schools. Fairmount Library Community Center. You know, I have a community center in my neighborhood that I'm proud that I've been involved with since 2000. Now, the city got that building from the school district for $1. I'm going to tell you that's the best investment we've ever made for that neighborhood. So you want to talk about investing in the city? We are investing heavily in this city. But what I want to say here is at the end of all this is going to free up money in the next year's budgets. If you look in the budget, Main Street Landing, and that is in the budget, right? So if we do it now and we free up that money later on, we can fix streets, we can fix alleys, and I hope my colleagues, when we get to that point and we have that discussion, that we actually decide to fix streets and alleys instead of coming up with another project like, maybe we need an escalator.
Thank you, Alderman Dunn. Anybody else for a second time? Very good. I'll add a couple comments and then I'll go to Alderman Jobson. So listening, discussing, hearing from folks, great conversation, great discussion, many people involved. So we got public input through surveys. We've got public input to listen to you folks and others through emails and phone calls and visits and personal conversations and face-to-face visits. We've talked about a lot of things and what applies and what doesn't apply, and then the staff put stuff together, and we had a work session and multiple council discussions about what it was, and we had 60-some projects that folks said we should look at and discuss, and it was broke down to approximately 10. And so the highlights, as many of my colleagues have said here, neighborhoods, investing in neighborhoods. We have over 80, I think it might be 90 recognized neighborhoods in this city. So that's a focus for this council. Has been, continues to be, and will be in the future. Crime prevention, we know that, we take it serious, and we're putting stuff into that. The Youth Assessment Center, we've been talking about that for years. Davenport is leading the way by stepping up and putting the most amount of money into that. We're doing that as we speak, and we're going to continue to improve upon that and brought along our partners and encourage them to put money in, and we did that. That is happening, and that is now freeing up money because we were going to use other money to do this. Now we're putting in ARPA, so as Alderman Dunn said and many other folks have said, by doing some of these projects with ARPA money, i.e. some of the projects, frees up CIP money. And thus the CIP money can be used for some of these other things we're talking about. So people have to understand, or should, and many of people do, that by doing some of the work with this money, frees up other money so we can do the things you're talking about. But we can't do everything you're talking about with this money because there's restrictions. But if we use this money for some of those things, then we have the money to do some of the things that people are talking about. So again, back to public input, neighborhoods, crime prevention, pre-K reading. How many times we talked about that? And nobody prior to this has done anything, so we are, because of your guys' input. Riverfront, infrastructure work, the planning that was done to get the north part of this city in a place where we can have development come was done by future council or by past councils. Now this council has the foresight to plan the west side so that future councils can have the good times to have ribbon cuttings and talk about the investments going to go in to bring more jobs. I mean, I think this council, talking about the work that's been done and the staff, has brought more jobs to this city than any council in the history of the city of Davenport. I think that's pretty big deal. So by planning with some of this money to invest west, we'll have other councils saying the same stuff. Housing is in there. Library, social worker, we've been talking about that for a long time. We're doing that. MLK, we've been talking about, and people have been pushing us. We're doing that. Flood mitigation. We have a big plan. So people have been talking about, let's do some of the low-hanging. We're doing that. So again, freeing up. Alderman Dunn and I were just at the bi-state meeting talking about money to work with that to get more flood mitigation money. So it's a comprehensive, well thought out, well inputted plan that not everyone got everything they wanted exactly. That doesn't happen in a democracy. Nobody gets exactly everything. I didn't get exactly everything out there. As Ms. Beagle knows, I've talked to her about a couple things I'd like, but we didn't get it all. But all of these things impact a heck of a lot, and that's what we're doing. We can help folks, as we did just in the last few days, in the last few weeks, and do some of these things. These are not mutually exclusive conversations. These are not mutually exclusive ideas. This council has continued to work, and the staff has continued to work because of the public input to do many things. We'll continue to do that. Again, we can do many things because that's what we do. Again, staff input, great council discussion, public input to come up with a comprehensive plan to assist a lot. Many of this, as our good friend on the ceiling said, Alderwoman McGinnis, there's details yet to come. But let's remember, this frees up money that we can do some of the things we're talking about. So I want to thank the public, the people that come here, and the people who have emailed, conversated, and inputted. I want to thank the staff for putting some of this together, because we don't do that. They put that together. And then they brief us and the council discuss it. Talking about streets, I hear that all the time, but let's put it in context here. This council has put more money into streets, millions, than any council before, has a plan to put more money into streets next year than any council previous to that, and probably as long as I'm here and the others will continue to do that. So streets and infrastructure will always be a priority, and we'll continue to do that. So more details, but again, we can help folks with immediate needs and do these things. They are not mutually exclusive. Again, great input, neighborhoods, crime prevention, riverfront, youth assessment center, infrastructure, housing, MLK, library social work, flood mitigation, all part of this. Not everybody got everything, but it's a great list, and I encourage everyone to support this. Alderman Jobson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to apologize for not being able to attend in person. I thank Corey Smith and Tiffany Thorndike for making it possible that I'm able to log in this evening. Second, I do want to echo the mayor's sentiments in thanking our city administrator and staff for taking, input from citizens, taking input from us on the council, and putting together a program, a plan, a draft budget. So I hope that me making this motion doesn't throw any of that under the bus. I think we continue to move forward. But as I've looked at this draft budget, there is one item which I feel does not align with this legislation.
Alderman Jobson, we're losing you, so try again. Otherwise, we'll try and log you back in.
Am I here? Can you hear me?
Barely. Mr. Smith.
Am I good?
That's good. There you go.
All right, I won't move. I'm got one leg up in the air. So I don't know where you lost me, but again, thanks. I think this is overall a great plan. I think we continue to move forward with this plan, but there is one item which, I do not think aligns with the legislation. I think we, focus some discussion around what we want to do with this last little bit of funds. So without belaboring the point, I want to make this motion. I move to amend the resolution for accepting and approving the city administrator's recommended Arpa budget by removing the Main Street Landing Destination Play Area project and leaving the reprogramming of the associated funding for future council discussions.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? Okay, so Alderman Jobson, listen to me, and then Mr. Warner will listen too, see if I interpret it right. So it was slightly garbled, but my interpretation of this is that you would like to remove the item under the Main Street Landing, basically the $6 million piece, from this vote, and to leave it for future councils to discuss. Mr. Warner's and Ms. Spiegel's nodding their head yes. Mr. Jobson, is that how you understand what you said? Was that
yes,
a yes?
Except for not future councils, for us as a council.
Roger that. Okay. Roger that. So our staff has that recorded. So that's a motion. There is a second. Any discussion from council on the motion that was just put forward? I see Alderman Dorman.
Thank you, Mayor Mattson. City Administrator Spiegel or Mallory, from what you guys have read from the ARPA plan, I know you said that one of the main reasons we have to even approve this formal plan is because in order for us to have the money and spend the money, we have to have a true plan associated with how we are going to spend it that we send to the Treasury. From what you've gathered and what you've read of having an open item of $6 million that just has an asterisk that says we will spend it at our discretion later, is that allowed via the ARPA plan?
So one quick clarification, we don't have to submit it to Treasury. This is really about two things. One, it's accepting the funds and then amending the budget accordingly. And two, essentially the council providing me the direction to go forth and expend a lot of personnel time on moving these initiatives forward. The $6 million hole or a gap, that will not impede our ability to move forward. What it will do is cause us to continue having conversations about what to do with those funds simultaneously.
Thank you. And I've said all of my comments earlier of why I think that this destination playground is really the last item of this soup that we need in order to have a award-winning recipe. So it's one that I do not want to see it go away, and one that I think is just as important as all of the other items that are in the ARPA plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Dorman. Anybody else on this motion? Seeing no one. Brian, please call the roll on removing this item from the recommendation.
Ambrose?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Ms. McGinnis?
No.
Grip?
No.
Miller?
Yes.
Dunn?
No.
Condon?
No.
Lee?
Yes.
Dickman?
No.
Dorman?
No.
And Jobson.
Yes.
Looks like 4 yeses and 6 noes, Your
So
Honor.
that motion does not pass. Now we are back on the original, and I'll read it just because we've had a discussion so everybody understands. Resolution accepting and approving the city administrator's recommended American Rescue Plan, ARPA, including funding allocations for related projects, authorizing the city administrator and chief financial officer to perform the necessary budget and personnel amendments. Brian, please call the roll.
Dickman,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Grip,
Yes.
Ambrose,
No.
Dunn,
Yes.
Condon,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Jobson,
Yes.
and Dorman.
Yes.
9 yeses and 1 no, Your Honor.
So that resolution is adopted, and the city administrator now has her direction on that. Okay, the next item on the agenda is there a motion for approval of all items on the consent agenda? There's a motion and a second. Brian, please call the roll on consent.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Jobson,
Yes.
thank you. Condon,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Ambrose, Miller,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Dorman,
Yes.
Grip,
Yes.
and Dickman.
Yes.
10 yeses, Your Honor.
Very good, the consent is approved. The next item on our agenda is, are there any other ordinances, resolutions, or motions for tonight? There are none. The next item, is there any public with business? If there are, please step to the podium, the microphone's above you. I'd ask that you give your name, ward, or address. If you're not from here, we'd love to know where you're from, and you'll have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Very kind, thanks very much. Bill Handel, Ward 4, Nashville, Tennessee. Thanks again for affording me this additional 5 minutes. And again, yesterday I had a 5-minute session in front of the Riverfront Improvement Commission, and I really urge you all to look at that video if you would. I asked all of them, because they were seated just like you are, to come over, and it was the last item of business, to come over and look at this. They sat stone cold in their seats and refused to do that. But that's up to them, obviously. But anyway, what I told them is I have, and I've told you this before, when I was a graduate student at Rice in Houston, I was astounded by San Antonio's River Walk, that with such a little piss poor little stream, less than in Duck Creek, they've managed to parlay that into what's now a 3.5 billion with a B economic impact in their great city. 1 out of 8 San Antonians works in the tourism industry and its components. Why can't that happen to Davenport? Why can't it happen to Davenport? We're a smaller area than San Antonio. If we took certain measures, which I'm showing right here, my goal is we have a total impact each year of $300 million. $300 million to our citizens. They don't have to get a job with in a warehouse in Amazon, as good as that is. They could have, not only that, we'd have a riverfront that people would, the people that live here would feel good about. And I'm not talking about a playground. I'm talking about, number one, what we did in 1955. We had a beautiful riverfront. Bill Peterson left it to us. We had LeClaire Park. We had our historic landing. The downtown partnership, and it's whatever they called it then, and its downtown people said, we need to have more parking. So they built a concrete seawall from Main Street to Perry. They filled it up with sand, covered up those bricks, put asphalt on top of it, put parking meters, and we had parking. But you can never have enough parking. Later on, they paved more parking in front of Peterson Pavilion. A lot more than we have now. You can never have too much parking, so they built parking ramps. And then in the 80s, when the downtown was really going down, they tore down 70 buildings in downtown, the downtown partnership and the city. They were historic buildings, they were rundown buildings, but they tore them down. And in the 90s, they said, well, now what we want to do is we got to have gambling, because that didn't work, so we're gonna have gambling. So they brought gambling, and we've lost our riverfront for almost a generation because of the gambling. So those same people, I don't think we ought to listen to them again. I think what we ought to do, just like Groundhog Day, the movie, we keep going to the same poisoned well. I think what we need to do is go back to our original, and let's have a landing right here, Main Street, an actual landing. I've sent you all emails to that effect. Let's have a fountain right here. We've got fountains that everybody loves at Vanderveer Park. Why can't we have a nationally known fountain at our great national river? The watchword of the Downtown Partnership's downtown plan was playful, protected, and I don't know what the last one was, but it's what about mighty, majestic Mississippi, where people all over the world want to come to? Playful, protected playground doesn't fit the mark. That's all I'm going to have for right now. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Father, if you want to move that over, because the microphone's above you here, so if you want to move that, that's fine. I'll stand there.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would move it.
Cool.
My name is Father Rudolph Juarez. I'm pastor of St. Anthony Catholic Church in downtown Davenport. I lived in San Antonio for 2 years, so I know what you're talking about. And I've been to Paris. But anyway, I'd like to address the council this evening in support of the residents of East 35th Street. I'd also like to tell you that last year I was looking for a place to live here in downtown Davenport. The parish wanted to actually buy a condominium. There was nothing to be had. And so that's a note. But I would also like to thank Honorable Mayor Mattson. He has been generally a good friend and someone who I have confidence in. And I also like to thank the council for listening to the people who, through no fault of their own, are forced to find new housing and shelter. No one should be forced into a situation of instability or insecurity in our community. And I urge the council to be sensitive to our fellow citizens who find themselves in such a state. I believe that we can find ways to assist these persons morally, physically, and materially. This will be, in the short term, a great alleviation of human suffering and trauma, but in the long term, pave a way for a safer and more stable community. I see the stakeholders in this situation being the renters, the owners, the city, and all the residents of the Davenport community who have a stake in the future of our community and in what kind of community we wish to be. I believe that through open and honest dialogue, a just and equitable solution can be found to resolve the issues at hand in a non-confrontational and peaceful manner. And so I ask a question. Is it time for a city ordinance like that in other communities, which places a 6-month waiting period and preparation period before transfer of ownership of rental complexes takes place, which would allow permit owners and tenants the necessary time to adequately prepare for the eventual change of ownership and for tenants to find new housing? I believe that all of us have the moral and civic obligation to be good neighbors, good citizens, good owners, and good renters alike, and to do our best to see that the interests of all parties are respected and fulfilled in a manner that is responsible, respectful, and lawful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sheila Parker Wilson. I'm a resident of Davenport. I'm also a resident of 35th, and I'm come on behalf of the residents of 35th to thank the mayor for all the phone calls and contact. He has been supportive of us. I also would like to thank Alderman Miller for coming out to the vigil and praying with us last night. It was very impactful and very resourceful. So now I'm going to my story. So 3 years ago, we held a press conference down at the park on 6th Street, down from the homeless shelter. And I was the advocate. The moral of the story was everyone deserves a key. I handed keys around the park and we gathered because everyone deserves a key. You cannot be successful in life if you don't have a place to stay and have somewhere to rest. You sleeping on your mother's couch, on your friend's sofa, in the basement of someone's house, that's not stability. You cannot be successful in life without a key. Our children are going to school in a couple of weeks, and some of them are going to be staying at hotels, sleeping on the bed with their siblings, eating out of a hot box. How can they be successful? This is our future. How can they be successful without a home to call home, an address to know where to go after school, somewhere to rest, and be able to be a stable citizen and successful person in life? This is what our kids are finna face in the next couple of weeks. Also, I have addressing that I was on the front page of the Catholic Messenger newspaper fighting for homelessness. This was 3 years ago. And so, July 15th, a new Catholic Messenger came, and I'm on the front page on the opposite side. 3 years ago, I was fighting for homeless and passing out keys because everyone deserves a key. Now, 3 years, I'm on the front page again, asking for help to get a key to be not displaced. So I want y'all to see how the balance of the scale goes. You can be up here, but you can also go back down here. And so another thing, people are not being sympathetic to the situation of what's going on. And I was wondering, is it personal or they just don't care? And so it was a circle. And when you spin in a circle, guess what? When you stop, you be dizzy. You're unbalanced and you can't just stand straight up. So guess what? That's what we've been doing for the 30 days, going in a circle and being very dizzy. So I prayed a lot, but when you're going in a circle and being dizzy, it's hard to kind of pray or even function because you're spinning. So now I'm stopped spinning. I'm a little bit dizzy, but guess what? My Jesus answered my prayers, and now I'm in a square and not the circle. So guess what? I got corners to go and pray in to get out this situation. This is not a situation that I created. This is a situation that I'm facing. And I just want people that if you not have been in these type of positions, you cannot feel what's in the inside because you have not been through it. If you've been through it, then you could be a little more sympathetic of the situation. So when you have not experienced it, you can't really feel it to understand it. You just looking from the inside out. You can't go from the outside in because you have never been in that situation. So we're at the square now, thanks to the help, but it still need to be some guidelines so this is not to happen again, because I have found out since I've been researching and helping other families, I'm putting myself behind to make sure my fellow neighbors and the people that is being displaced find housing because that's morally right. Everyone deserves a key. And I'm gonna fight this fight to some rules and regulations and laws be made that this is not happening again. This is happening to us right now. It's 150 families on the chopping block. But guess what? Doing this research and networking with the communities and the clusters, guess what I have found? It's more buildings that is in worse shape than the ones that we are being displaced out of, that's in worse shape and worse things. Thank y'all for my time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Darren. I'm on 35th Street, 7th Ward. Just want to thank you for helping us out. There's still a lot to be done. Some of these people I've talked to, they don't know where they're going. You know, they got kids. It's sad. Come out and see it. Don't just look in the window. Come out and see us. People that their income is not very good. The help you're giving us, they're saying, oh, you're not qualified because your income. Come on now. We didn't do this to us. These landlords did it. It should be fair. Who cares about your income? You guys may be making a lot more than anybody else. I'm not looking at your income. Don't look at ours. You guys say Davenport is a great place to live. It could be. If you guys step up, take these landlords, well, scum lords, out of the picture. You said to us that you were going to close them apartments on 35th Street because that landlord had a lot of stuff to do. Don't let that happen. Get on them before they can sell it to these other landlords and we get kicked out. 30 days, that's not long enough. 2 months ain't long enough. But you guys have the power to get these scum lords out of here and help these people that don't have the income, because what you're doing is, if you don't help these people, you're not going to have a good Davenport. A lot of people's going to leave Davenport. You want people to stay? Don't look at their income. You want them to stay in Davenport. Don't look where they live. People say 35th Street. Oh, that's a name for 35th Street. Don't look at that. Don't put a name on a street. You don't know what them people are going through to live. You don't want homeless people. You got a lot of homeless people around here. I've only been here for 3 years. I've seen a lot of things here for 3 years. And I'm going to tell you, Davenport can be better, but it's up to you guys. And get the landlords to stop doing this. Make a law where they can't do this. Not 30 days. I know some landlords are going to kick people out. Yeah, but not 30 days. Look at the families. Look at the kids. The kids are going through hell. Because their parents are going through hell to try to figure out where they're going to go. People can't afford down payment, the application fees. And if you throw an application fee out there, they're going to look at that and say, sorry, you're not approved. There's a waste of money that they didn't have. So I just say, you guys look into this more. Help us out. Help these, not just us. Make sure the future, it don't happen to future people. And I just say thank you again.
Anyone else?
Ron Swainer, 2366 West 47th. We're putting the cart before the horse. You talk about investing in downtown as critical. One thing you need to invest in. I don't care, skate parks, squirt parks, whatever amenities you want to do. If this man back here, the chief, can't do his job in the department, we're not talking about arresting their way out of it. We're talking about giving them the resources, the manpower it's going to take. You can have all the amenities in the world, but Joe Schmo in Chicago or St. Louis, why is he going to come up here if you got shots fired? Stolen vehicles. Figgy shot out. Multiple, 80, 90 rounds? Our Sky Bridge, which was supposed to attract, as was said. And we use it as a city logo. Have you ever looked up on Google Sky Bridge? You know what pops up? Bridge to nowhere. Our Sky Bridge. How sickening is that? We as a community have failed over the last few years to give our department, which I've had dealings with, and how do I rate the department? The 2 dealings I had personally, very poorly. I got treated like garbage. I got ignored. And I've been up here trying to push to have our department, the resources, the manpower. It's never been about. The county's finally getting off their duff for a bigger juvenile detention center. We have a lot of moving parts that are not going to be fixed overnight. It's going to take time, manpower, and money. I understand what's spent here for Centennial Park, for the riverfront. That's this pot of money. Well, guess what, folks? We need to find the right pot of money. The right pot so our citizens, me as an individual, feel safe. Do I feel safe? No, I had a shooting just up from where I work. Shooting, shots fired up by my house. You as a citizen or you coming in from town, how are you gonna feel seeing those reports? That thing went viral when they shot out the Figgy. And you're saying, well, we can develop this and it'll bring the people. Not until you give your law enforcement, this community, and a lot of programs some time before that's gonna happen. I challenge you, the city, the administrator, you as the council, you as the mayor. There's a lot of things in the works, I know, but it's not enough. And everything in the work right now it's irrelevant because training manpower for a department takes months and months. We need to do some things now. We need to get this taken care of, or you ain't gonna have a city. You know what scared me? I got friends calling this Little Chicago. Imagine that, Little Chicago, for God's sakes. How does that make you feel proud of your community? It sure doesn't me. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi again. So I just want to say that I am disappointed because it doesn't seem that there's a plan by the city to, seriously ensure that what happens to the residents of Crestwood and East 35th Street happens again, right? In this country, homelessness is a policy choice. It's a deliberate decision not to ensure that no one goes homeless, right? We have over 500,000 people in this country who are homeless right now, and it's probably gone up since COVID. And we don't have that concern as we would something like a natural disaster, right? And so when I hear that, this is what we're doing from these development funds, okay, I gotcha. But what is being done right now for people to make sure they don't get homeless in the next month, okay? And I haven't heard any plan about this. I think the city was probably caught off guard when the crisis at East 35th Street in Crestwood became known. And it was clear there was no plan to ensure that this didn't happen again. And I think that's pretty disgusting. I think that's pretty sad. And when I hear those concerns brought up by, the residents, and then I hear what came before about this plan we're developing, and we're going to build this park and do this and do that to bring people in, I'm just concerned with, what's happened to the people who've been here their whole lives and are now being forced to leave? And so my question for you is, we're going to have a homelessness crisis and eviction wave in the next month all across this country. So what is your plan? Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Dale Gilmore, and I live in the 6th Ward. I hope to end this on a little bit lighter note. I'd like to invite all of you downtown Saturday night for an event. It's called All Salute the Sergeant. It's for Sergeant Peppers, Mike Peppers, AKA Santa Claus. Now Santa has recently come across some unexpected serious medical expenses. So this is kind of a fundraiser for Santa. Santa has been at the Festival of Trees since the Festival of Trees began. He's been a Santa for, 48 years, I think, and he's trying to get to 50. He started out with the JCs. And I don't remember when he started, but I was in the JCs many years ago, so I remember. But it's Saturday. Now, according to the agenda, it says noon to 10 p.m. It actually is going to start at 4. And it says cruise the 3rd and 4th Street one-ways. Santa's shop will be open for visitors. Now, Santa's brother Bob is going to be giving my little tours of the shop. Donations will be accepted. And it also says naughty driving will not be tolerated. Remember, Santa will be watching, and so will the Davenport Police. So come on down. I'll be down there, and you know, hopefully we'll have the whole group of people downtown, and just it'll be fun. There won't be any shots fired, I hope. You know, we're just going to have a good time. Bring an experience downtown and relive the days of the whatever. So come on down. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing, seeing no one, there's a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Have a good, safe weekend. Drink water, stay out of the heat.